In the shattered remains of the old world, where cities had once stood tall and proud, humanity was left to scrape by in the ruins. Earth had been ravaged by years of conflict, alien invasions, and environmental disasters. The great empires of man had fallen, and only the strongest had survived. Among them, a new breed of warriors had emerged, those who fought not only for survival but for the honor and the legacy of what had once been. These were the Blood Claws, an elite faction of humanity's fiercest fighters, each having earned their place through a series of brutal trials that tested not only their physical strength, but their will to survive. Sergeant Jace Vorn, a young warrior with a reputation as both merciless and fearless, stood on the edge of what was once the thriving city of New Arcadia. It was now nothing more than a hollow shell, its skyscrapers reduced to twisted metal and dust. His body was covered in scars, each one telling a story of battles fought and enemies defeated. But none of these marks would ever compare to the ones that mattered most, the Blood Claws. These were the weapons, blood-stained, serrated claws attached to his gauntlets, forged in the heat of battle and hardened with each strike. Jace had been a part of the Blood Claws for years, but his claws had never been truly earned. He had fought with the group, contributed in every way he could, but the final trial, the one that would mark him as a true Blood Claw, still eluded him. In this world, to be a Blood Claw meant more than just fighting. It meant proving your worth in a world that was unforgiving, where strength, cunning, and ruthlessness were the only things that kept you alive. The trial was set on the ruins of New Arcadia. The Blood Claws had long ago decided that the city would be the final proving ground for their warriors. In the heart of the city stood a maze of wreckage, a labyrinth of broken buildings, hostile factions, and the ever-present threat of alien scavengers looking to pick off the weak. The mission was simple: find the heart of the city and retrieve the Bloodstone, a relic from the old world that was said to give its wielder unimaginable power. However, only those who could survive the city's chaos, fight off the scavengers, and retrieve the stone would be deemed worthy of the title of Blood Claw. For days, Jace fought through the decaying remnants of New Arcadia, navigating the dangers of a city that had long been forgotten by time. The maze of debris was filled with threats both human and alien. The scavengers, a brutal gang of former soldiers and mercenaries, had taken over much of the city, using its broken streets as their hunting grounds. They were ruthless, well-armed, and eager to kill anyone who dared enter their territory. But Jace was determined. Each day he fought through their numbers, slaying them with the blood-stained claws that now felt like an extension of his own hands. He had fought for years to reach this point, and he would not let anything stand in his way. As Jace moved deeper into the city, the true test began. The maze grew more complex, the dangers more severe. His food supplies were running low, and the lack of water was beginning to take its toll. His body ached from the constant battle, but he refused to relent. Every time he thought about giving up, he remembered the reason he had come here, the Blood Claws. It was his legacy, his family, and the only thing that mattered in this broken world. On the fourth day, Jace encountered a creature unlike anything he had ever seen, a towering alien beast, its body covered in thick, armored plating, with glowing red eyes that burned through the shadows. It was the guardian of the Bloodstone, a creature that had been placed there long ago to protect the relic from any would-be conquerors. The battle that ensued was brutal. Jace's blood-stained claws clashed against the creature's armored hide, sparks flying with each strike. The beast was strong, faster than anything Jace had fought before. Its claws, sharp as knives, slashed through his armor, drawing blood. But Jace refused to fall. He was fighting not just for survival, but for honor. His fists hammered against the alien creature's defenses, pushing through its strength with sheer willpower. Finally, after what felt like hours of relentless fighting, he delivered a decisive blow, piercing the creature's heart with his claws. Exhausted, covered in alien blood and his own, Jace stumbled into the heart of the city, where the Bloodstone lay atop a pedestal of stone. His heart raced as he approached the relic, the final piece of the trial now within his grasp. The stone shimmered with an ethereal glow, its power almost palpable in the air. Jace reached out and grasped it, feeling its energy surge through his body. He had done it. He had earned his place as a true Blood Claw. As he stood there, victorious and panting from the battle, he realized that the trial was not just about physical strength. It was about the resilience of the human spirit. The Blood Claws had been born from the ashes of the old world, and it was that same spirit that had carried him through the trial. He had been tested not just in his ability to fight, but in his ability to endure, to survive against all odds, and to never lose sight of his purpose. Jace returned to the blood claws, his blood-stained claws now a symbol of his strength and his unyielding will to survive. The other warriors looked upon him with respect, for they knew the trials he had faced and the price he had paid. He had earned his place among them, and as the newest member of the blood claws, he had proven that even in the darkest of times, humanity's strength would always prevail. From that day forward, Jace Vorn was known as one of the fiercest warriors of the blood claws. His claws, once a mere symbol of his potential, were now a testament to his victory. And in the broken, war-torn world that had once been Earth, he stood as a living legend, a reminder that humanity would never be truly defeated, no matter the trials they faced. Jace stood on the windswept ruins of New Arcadia, his blood-stained claws gleaming in the dim, overcast light that barely pierced through the smoke-filled sky. The battle had been long and costly, and the city had taken its toll on him. His muscles screamed with exhaustion, his body covered in alien blood, his own blood, and the grime of battle. But as he looked at the bloodstone clenched in his hand, a sense of fulfillment washed over him. The mission was complete, but it was more than that. He had passed the ultimate test, proving not only his strength, but his ability to endure in the face of overwhelming odds. The bloodstone itself, an ancient relic left behind from a time before the fall of civilization, pulsed with a faint, otherworldly glow. It was rumored to grant its possessor unimaginable power, but Jace knew better than to let it control him. The stone was not the key to his strength. It was the trials he had survived, the blood he had shed, and the determination he had shown to never surrender that had earned him his place as a blood claw. The claws, the scars, the battles, they were his true power. As he trudged through the wreckage of New Arcadia, heading back to where the blood claws had established their base, Jace thought of the world before the fall. He remembered when humanity had been united, before the wars, before the invasions, before the constant struggle to survive. Now that unity was a distant memory, replaced by factionalism, fractured communities, and a society built on survival rather than prosperity. The blood claws, like so many other groups, were part of that new world order, warriors forged from the wreckage, bound together by a common cause, survival at all costs. Yet in the eyes of the blood claws, there was still hope. They were more than just survivors, they were the last of humanity's fighting spirit. And Jace, with his blood-stained claws and his reputation as a fierce warrior, had earned the right to lead them. The sun was setting as Jace reached the outer perimeter of the Blood Claw camp, a fortified outpost nestled in the ruins of what had once been a thriving metropolis. The camp was alive with activity, warriors sharpening their weapons, tending to the wounded and preparing for the next mission. The sight of their leader returning with the bloodstone, his claws gleaming and his face determined, was enough to stop everything. The warriors fell silent as Jace made his way to the center of the camp. Commander Rhea, the leader of the Blood Claws, stepped forward, her expression unreadable. She had been the one to test Jace, to challenge him, and to ensure that only the truly worthy could join the ranks of the Blood Claws. She had watched him grow from a promising recruit to the warrior he had become. Now, seeing him return with the bloodstone and the blood of his enemies still fresh on his armor, she knew that he had earned his place. "Jace Vorn," Rhea said, her voice cutting through the air like a blade. "You have passed the trial, and you have earned your claws. From this day forward, you are no longer just a member of the Blood Claws. You are one of us, a leader among us. You have proven that the human spirit cannot be broken." Jace nodded, his face grim but proud. He had come a long way, but the journey was far from over. He knew that the Blood Claws had many battles ahead of them. The world was still filled with dangers, other factions that would challenge their dominance, alien creatures that threatened to wipe them out, and the ever-present threat of starvation and disease. But Jace had learned that there was nothing more powerful than the will to survive. And as long as there were Blood Claws to fight, humanity would never be fully defeated. In the days that followed, Jace helped lead his fellow warriors through skirmishes with rival factions, defending their territories and securing vital resources. His reputation as a brutal and unrelenting fighter spread, and more warriors came to join the Blood Claws, eager to prove themselves and to fight under his banner. But Jace knew that true strength came not just from physical might, but from the bond shared between warriors, fighting not just for survival, but for something greater. As the seasons passed, Jace's leadership and the strength of the Blood Claws grew. They became a force to be reckoned with in the wasteland, known for their skill in battle, their unyielding spirit, and their commitment to preserving humanity's legacy. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to rebuild, to create a future where humanity could stand tall once more. One evening, as the Blood Claws gathered around a campfire after a victorious battle, Jace looked out across the horizon. The fires of war still burned in the distance, but he knew that the Blood Claws were ready. They had earned their place in this new world, and they would not be forgotten. Jace's claws, now gleaming in the flickering light, were more than just weapons. They were a symbol of humanity's strength, of its resilience in the face of destruction. The Blood Claws were more than just warriors. They were a testament to the unbreakable spirit of humanity, a spirit that would endure no matter what the future held. And as the stars above shone down on the wasteland, Jace Vorn, leader of the Blood Claws, knew one thing for certain. No matter how dark the world became, humanity would never stop fighting.